Today we continue with how to meditate, and we've been talking on how to meditate based on two perspectives. Meditation consists of stabilization and introspection. And just about 2 weeks ago, we have taken a leave of absence for about 2-3 weeks. And now, probably some people may have forgotten what we've been talking about. We use the breath as the object of the meditation. You have to use something to focus on. We've been using the breath, the in and out breath. What is the closest to you? The closest action to you, your bodily action, is not how you move around. It's the air inside of you. That's the most crucial, the most vital, the most akin to you, and the most noticeable to you, or the most unnoticeable to you. But it's always been an activity in the body. And this activity is always continuous. It cannot stop. This is a non-stop activity. You may not realize it. If it stops for 5 minutes, your body won't work out again. So why are we not using others? The Buddha suggested to us that we should use the breath. Some people use a candle flame. Some people use a koan. Some people use a sentence. Some people use, I don't know, they use different ways to do meditation. But the Buddha suggested to us, use the breath. What is stabilization and what is introspection? So stabilization, some people translate it as concentration, and introspection, some people translate it as what? Some people translate it as contemplation. But contemplation is not as appropriate a translation as introspection, because introspection gives you the meaning that you have to look within. Intro, you have to look within. You don't look out. As a matter of fact, you don't attach to outside, because contemplation could be using the outside externalities to help your contemplation. But in this case is you let go of all these, so introspect. So Sanskrit is vipassana. So in stabilization we say we use 3 methods: counting, following, and stabilization. Counting is counting your breath. You're counting your breath from 1 to 10, 1 to 10, to concentrate on the counting. Then you get rid of all these desultory thoughts, wandering thoughts. And if you are successful in counting, automatically you will feel that counting is a coarse activity. Counting is impeding my peacefulness. I want to relinquish the counting, because the counting is not subtle. The counting becomes a hindrance. I want to get rid of counting. I want to get rid of this coarse activity. I want to go into following now. I don't want to count. I just want to follow the breath. So you follow the breath in, you follow the breath out. And in the process of following it, you are fencing off all these wandering thoughts. And you follow and follow until your breath is getting subtle, more peaceful. And then you come to a stabilization where your mind actually calms down, your body actually relaxes. Then you come to a stabilization. And that's the purpose of stabilization. And then after stabilization, calming yourself down, calm down the mind and relax the body is not enough. You automatically will know that it's not enough. I have already calmed down my mind, I already have relaxed my body, but that's not enough. It seems that, where am I going from here? Where am I going? Then you start to what? You start to think about, where are you going? And then you start to build up vipassana, introspection. Why am I doing this? And what is the value of life? Why is the universe like this? Where do I come from? All these questions, all this investigation and analysis that requires wisdom, need introspection to unravel it, to unravel all these mysteries of life. Because just to stabilize yourself is not enough. To get to the threshold of human wisdom, not to say the beyond, the transcendental wisdom, you need to know a lot more about life. And introspection is the point where we stopped last time. And introspection requires a lot of time to explain it. All the canons of Buddhism, the Sila, the Samadhi, and the Vipassana, all the canons, all the Tripitaka is talking about introspection. And introspection requires a lot of words, a lot of concepts to help you in the introspection. We all think in terms of concepts, right? If we don't have concept in our mind, we cannot think. Name is a concept. Language is a concept. We think, we analyze, we investigate with concepts. So we need the right concept to work with. If we use the wrong concept, we're in trouble. The concept of selfishness, the concept of ego, the concept of greediness, the concept of profiteering, the concept of gambling, intoxication. We need the right concepts. If you use the wrong concept, you're going the wrong way. And many people use the wrong concepts. That's why we've gone in the wrong way. So the Buddha said, introspection is, first of all, you need the right concept to work in your introspection. And in the Pali language, it's what? Samadhi. In the Chinese language, it's zheng ji jian, jing ji kin. Introspection, you need the right concepts. Well, where are these concepts then? The Buddha introduced these concepts for 49 years according to the history of mankind. For 49 years, the Buddha had been going around the country in India non-stop every day for 49 years just to bring about all these concepts to mankind, to gear them towards enlightenment, to gear them towards the right view, the right understanding, the right concentration, the right stabilization, the right introspection. Are you listening? Have you been reading about them? Nowadays, it's easy to get into some of these right concepts. Previously, we can only get them from books. So I always said that learning has become an easier process nowadays than in the ancient days. I remember before I learned how to use the website, the internet, for every concept that I'm about to learn, I'm about to talk about, I have to dig into books. So I need a very long table, a 6-foot desk, and then I lay all the books in there, dictionary on one hand, explanation on the other hand, and then I have to, put a bookmark there and here and there, and then I forgot where the bookmark is. It's been a difficult task. And nowadays, you can just access the internet with a lot of right concepts, a lot of wrong concepts too, maybe more wrong concepts than right concepts. So you have to know what are the right concepts, what are the wrong concepts. All right, let's get to the next one. I'm just doing a summary now, in order to regurgitate on what I was talking about, to repeat on what I'm talking about. So we say we have to cultivate introspection. The right introspection leads to nirvana. And the right introspection, Sanskrit language is samprajnaya. Yeah. Means clear and right understanding, clear and right knowing with full awareness and introspection. And the concept of introspection, if it's the right concept, is prajna. It's a state of pure consciousness. Now this concept should transcend worldly concepts or belief systems that might impede perfect wisdom. Worldly concepts impede wisdom, many of the worldly concepts. For example, the concepts of racism, the concepts of profiteering, the concepts of the ego. General concepts, specific concepts, many of the world's general and specific concepts are striving towards destruction of mankind. You know about that. That's the reason why we have wars. We have cold wars, financial war, physical wars, genocide, all kinds of worldly concepts. And prajna, the Buddha's prajna, the concept is to transcend all these, because all these impede wisdom. This is a general understanding of this concept. And then maybe let's have a more specific understanding. Transform the three parts of temporal consciousness, the perception part, the thinking part, and the emotional part, into ultimate introspection of true nature of existence, into wisdom, let's put it this way. To transform your perception, Vijnana in Pali language, or Vijnana in the Sanskrit language. The perception, transform your thinking, your mano, Vijnana, and the emotion, the chitta, into what? Into prajna. Transformation of the three parts of mentality into enlightenment, into prajna. Do you know that our mind is in three parts? The perception part, the rational thinking part, and the emotional part. The perception part of the mind, your eyes, your ears, your nose, the tongue, the body, the five senses. Don't you have the five senses? The perception, you perceive the world, externalities, with these five senses. And plus, there's a sixth sense, which is the mano. The mano is sort of a thinking one that more or less rationalize your perceptions, guiding all these sensory organs. For example, if your eyes see red, the mano will say, eyes, that's red. If your nose smells something nice, the mano will say, oh yeah, this is a flower. This is something good, a fragrant. Oh, this is a terrible smell. But you need the mano to guide it. Oh, this is fire. You don't touch it. You see fire, you don't touch it. So the mano is more or less the learning part, the thinking part, or more or less the rational part, guiding your perception to secure your body, your physical body, and your mentality in place, more or less. And then there's also the emotional part, which contains all our emotions, our ego, our greediness, our jealousy, our hatred. Oh, you name them. So basically, the perception and the thinking is on the one hand, on the one part. If I can streamline three into two, one is the mano part, which contains the perception, and the other is what? Is the emotional part, which is called a chitta. And these two minds are controlling our mind, parts are controlling our mind. And they are what? They are going in a different direction. The emotional mind always brings out these emotions in you. Make us suffering, make a lot of sufferings out. They are like at a tug of war, one pulling against each other. And you know which side is always winning? It's the emotional part that's always winning. Your emotional part always dominates your thinking part. That's why you are angry, you're jealous, you get wild, you break out your temper, you have a tantrum, you're greedy. That's why the emotional part is always in control. But it's the thinking part that performs the action. So poor humans we are. We're always going into suffering because our emotional part is always more or less control the thinking part. And why are we doing all this meditation? We're telling the thinking part, say, hey, reinforce yourself. You don't have to listen to the emotional part all the time. Build up your strength. You can overcome that. Why are you always subduing yourself? You are the slave of the emotional master. You can stand up against it. Train your thinking part. Turn your thinking part into wisdom. Turn your thinking part from conceptual misunderstanding into prajna. We call it samadhi, wisdom. That's what we've been thinking. That's what we've been doing. Why are we coming here on a Saturday morning? Yeah, you could have gone to, I don't know where you are, partying, running, jogging, I don't know, drinking. But you're not. You have chosen, your thinking part has chosen to come here to receive training so that you're not slave to your emotional part. We've been slave to our emotional part. If you're not, you won't get angry. If you're not, you won't be jealous. If you're not, you won't have hatred. Such introspection is prajna, which needs to attain enlightenment. So we already have explained introspection. You need the right introspection. You need to learn it, in other words. Learn the right inspection. So we need concepts, Buddhist concepts. What are these concepts? They're all in sutras. They're all in Abhidharma. They're all in what the Buddha had been talking about. They are all in the Buddha's teaching. And it contains so much concepts that where do we start? We start with general concepts and specific concepts. I've been trying to learn these concepts for 50 years, and I'm still learning it. But in some general, you need some general concepts and some specific concepts, and you need to know which are easier for me, which are the most appropriate to me, which I understand better. You don't need to learn all the concepts that the Buddha had been talking about. You have to pick and choose the ones that sufficient. Oh, I've learned all this. Learning is a lifetime process. You continue to learn. But you cannot be a professional student all the time. I have seen in universities that there's some guys, some girls, they spend 50 years in university. A BA, and then an MBA, a master, and then a PhD. They wanted to get PhD, and you add those number of years together, it's 25 years. They are professional students for 25 years. They started to be a university student at the age of 20, plus another 25 years is 45 years. 45 years, they forgot about, oh, do I need to work? No, my dad supports me. So they are professional students. They're always learning, and they don't apply what they learn to practice. So what you need is, you learn enough concepts you have enough tools to work, you need to work. It's just like I told one of my colleagues, I like carpentry. I work with carpenters. And in carpentry, there's so many tools. Do you need all the tools in the world to make carpentry? You need all those basic tools to work with carpentry, and that's enough. Every day they are creating new tools. Every day they're creating new planes. I've heard that Concorde, in a number of years, will fly you from Hong Kong to Vancouver in 5 hours. Do I have to wait? No, I'm not going to wait. 12 hours, 13 hours is okay for me now. I need to go now. You don't need all the concepts. You don't need to learn all the concepts to introspect. So that's the reason why we need to pick and choose. And let me give you one more example. A guy who has never tasted, who had never tried the taste of water, of seawater, ocean water. He never had sipped any ocean water, and he asked, what's the taste of the ocean water? The guy said, ocean water is a huge ocean. Do I need to drink up the whole ocean to know the taste of water? Oh, you are stupid. Just scoop up a cup. Scoop up a cup and taste the water. That's the ocean water. You don't need to drink the whole ocean. Do you need to drink the whole ocean to get a taste of the water? You don't need to learn every concept that the Buddha was talking about to know Buddhism. You're going to pick and choose the right ones. I've talked about the 4 seals of the Buddha, of the Dharma. The 4 seals of the Dharma. One of the 4 seals of the Dharma, introspection of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. I haven't talked about the Noble Eightfold Ways. I haven't talked about the 4 foundations of introspection. I've just talked about the 4 seals of the Dharma. And I have spent a lot of time on paticca samuppada. And I think it's important that I spend some time on introspection, because I need to bring out some concepts so that you know those concepts, enough concepts that you can work on. In other words, to do a good carpentry, you need the tools, but you don't need the whole tools in the world, but you need some basic tools. When you have some basic tools, you know how to do it. Paticca samuppada. I've explained paticca samuppada. And in the next session, I will be going into Noble Eightfold Path. I learned the Noble Eightfold Path in the first 3 years of learning Buddhism. And I found that now I haven't actually learned them, because most people, when they explain the Noble Eightfold Path, they just bring out the words and hurry with the introduction, with explanation, and that's it. I think every day I learn something new in the Noble Eightfold Path. As I age, as I get mature, my interpretation of the Noble Eightfold Path now is a lot different from when I first learned the Eightfold Path, because I'm putting I'm more and more in depth into my understanding. Life is delusion of our dream. We're living in the dream of existence. Actually, we're living in the dream of existence. We don't have a self. We call this self as a self, but it's a delusion. But you won't believe it. This is myself. Why is there a delusion? It's very difficult, because when you really know there's no self, you have to put yourself in the perspective of sunyata to understand it. It's not just simply to understand the words. You have to get into, what do you call it, the essence of it to understand it. And more than that, you have to ground it. You have to make sure that it is intrinsic in your understanding to know. Introspection of dependent origination, what's the main point? The main point in dependent origination or paticca samuppada is everything happened when all the necessary conditions are there. All things are because of all the necessary conditions. A few days ago, there was a question come up that I haven't got time to answer. And the question is, where do we come from? Why do I get born into this world? Where do I come from? And I know that I have to use paticca samuppada to explain it. But on second thought, because explaining where do we come from, how do we get born, what is the first cause, and did I appear in this life or in previous life, etc., etc. If I use paticca samuppada, it would take me 6 hours to explain. How can I answer a question in 6 hours? So it was really bordering my mind at that time. You may not see it when I'm answering it. Actually, my mind is working. Gee, I have so much to say. I don't know where to explain it first. I have so much to say. I don't know how to say it. But then, yesterday, when I think back, I should have given an answer like this, not using paticca samuppada. You come from where the conditions arise, and you will end where the conditions end. Where all the necessary conditions are there, you were born. When conditions are not there, you're not born. What does that mean? Because they always want to find the first cause. What's the first reason? What is the first condition? What is the first cause that brings me to here? There's no such thing as the first of the original condition or the cause. You know why? Let me ask you a question. What are the conditions that bring you here? Can you identify a first condition? The fact that you are here today is because of what? Maybe I can name a few conditions. I can name thousands of conditions that you are here today. That thousands of conditions that are necessary to materialize your presence here today. Thousands, or maybe unlimited. Your car didn't break down. You woke up in the morning in time, and you like the temple. The temple organized this lecture. The temple organized this meditation, and you are healthy. You are in this world. What else? You're living close by. What else? The weather is nice. What else? I can think of unlimited number of reasons why you're here today. If one of these reasons impede you from coming here, you're not coming here. For example, your car broke down. Then your presence here is not materialized. So you're asking me, what's the reason for your presence in here today? How can I tell you? Unlimited number of reasons. How can I tell you? Can you identify one reason? No. One condition? No. There are people who came here in the first hour and they're gone in this particular hour that I'm talking about this. So there they don't have the necessary conditions that mature, that allow them to stay to listen to this lecture. So how can I tell you the first cause? There isn't a first cause. The first cause is because of the first cause. That's the reason why what is paticca samuppada? Antecedental interdependent occurrence. One happened another. One happened after another. Which one is it's the first cause? No first cause. Can you tell me the first cause of just your presence in here? Let's narrow down the discussion. Your presence here, there must be a lot of reasons, a lot of conditions. What's the original condition? You like this temple? No. You like this temple. If this temple doesn't exist, you don't even create the liking. So, you cannot identify the first cause. But does that mean that you're not here today? I cannot identify a first cause for my presence to here today. Therefore, I'm not present. I'm here, but I'm not present. Can you say that? You're delusively present in here. Because we're all in the dream of existence. But, that being said, we still have to talk about conditions, right? Conditions can be like the closest conditions, yes. The remote conditions, yes. The more akin conditions, yes. So the Buddha still gives some characteristics of conditions. Nagarjuna analyzed conditions. The later philosophers, 500 years later, analyzed these conditions into a few remote, akin, close conditions, main conditions, and less important conditions. There's a direct condition, direct cause, more direct. As a matter of fact, classifying this direction based on these characteristics is not the most appropriate, but for the sake of some people like to classify things. Direct cause. What is the direct? Say, your presence here, what is the direct cause? Maybe the direct cause, it's you have the energy of looking for enlightenment. Because that's actually the direct cause. If I'm not interested in enlightenment, if I'm not interested from getting away from suffering, if I'm not interested in knowing more, in learning more wisdom, then you won't come. In spite of your health, good health, your car, everything, if you don't have that. So you must have a direct cause, more direct than the others. And also, that's the first classification of a cause. The second, cause for uninterrupted succession. That means there must be, it is an antecedental cause. For example, you're driving on the road, coming to the temple. There was a traffic accident in front of you. Your car is being blocked up there for 2 hours. You can't move. So it does not matter what happened to you, you can't come to the temple. So there is certain antecedental that happened before, that did not happen before, that led you to what is happening now. So in other words, if my mind has a thought that's dominating me, and then I have another thought that comes up, that dominating thought must make way for my second thought to come up. Right? A thought must go away before my second thought comes up, right? If that thought is occupying my mind, how can a second thought come up? The first thought has to make way for the second thought. The second thought has to make way for the third, for the fourth, for the fifth. So that's the reason why thoughts are like lightning. Thought runs speedily. Thoughts travel faster than light. You think light travels fast? Light travels fast. The speed of light. But thought is even faster. You may not realize it. Some thoughts come slowly, but then actually a thought may have 1,000 flickering of thought in there, if we can analyze it. Some psychologists could tell you how thought evolves quicker than lightning. So, but the first thought must go away before the second thought comes up. That's what we call antecedental. And then the third kind of cause is the object. That applies to the eyes. There must be an object for the eyes. There must be a sound for the ears. There must be a taste for the taste buds. The object, there must be the object. And then, other than these three, all the other ancillary conditions, all the other conditions that help you to fulfill what you want to fulfill, to come here, are all the other causes. And it says there's no other causes. That comprises all the causes. The direct cause, antecedental cause, the object, and all others. A very clever interpretation. He does not want to go into detail. He just say, all these others that don't fit into this three will be ancillary causes, ancillary conditions. There's no fifth. There's no other cause. You need a lot of conditions for certain things to happen. Just for the eyes to see, you need 10 conditions, roughly. How can you not appreciate your eyes? How can you not appreciate your nose? How can you not appreciate your body, appreciate your tongue? Some people say, I want to give up my life. I want to commit suicide. Geez. We should all appreciate what we've got. Our eyes. We need 10 conditions for the eyes to function. We need 9 conditions for the ears to listen. And you are destroying them? Let's bring this to those people who are suffering from depression and who said, I want to commit suicide. The fact that your body exists depends on a lot of conditions. Why do you want to eliminate those conditions that help you to exist?